the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is this team a Super Bowl contender or an overpriced pretender? Now, for some odd reason, and I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible here because, yes, this is my favorite football team. But for some odd reason, everyone loves to hate on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's not get things confused, man. We're talking about a stacked defense with a new defensive coordinator who made something out of nothing in Las Vegas. We're talking about a head coach quarterback reunion built entirely for a Lombardi trophy, a receiver overhaul, a running back upgrade, a tight end room that is loaded. Today we are talking about, are the Steelers contenders or pretenders? And I know you maybe feel like I gave away my answer in that intro there, but we're going to do a more deep of a breakdown on it. Let's start with the offense. Yes, we get it. Aaron Rodgers is 42, 43, 44, however old he is. He's an old bastard. He's not who he was. He's not four-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. He's, this is it, Aaron Rodgers. He's ouch my leg, Aaron Rodgers. But we saw last year that the guy can still sling it. Last year, Aaron put up 3,322 passing yards, which was 15th in the NFL, and 24 touchdowns, which was 13th. Just 7 interceptions. And the point I want to make with that is that was with an absolute bozo at offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. Now he's got Mike McCarthy in there, a face he's familiar with, a voice he's familiar with, a system he's familiar with. And not only that, he's got a much better supporting roster. Last year it was, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, then DK and friends. And it should have been, DK, Calvin Austin, the two running backs, Darnell and Muth. But for some odd reason, Arthur Smith said, "Hey, Jonnu Smith, you're looking pretty good today. How about you do everything for this offense?"
Bad thing. Oh, that's classy. Oh, I can't, but this is going too far.
Even though you're not, quite gifted enough to do so. But, let me not... I'm supposed to be unbiased in this video. Let me not rant about Arthur Smith. But the point is, he's going from Arthur Smith to a much more sophisticated offensive mind in Mike McCarthy. And like we said, the receiver overhaul, he's not only having DK now, he's having DK, Michael Pittman, and rookie Jeremy Bernard, who I believe is going to be fantastic in the NFL, but that's just opinion-based for now. But Michael Pittman, we do know how he is. Now, it has been a couple of years, 3 to be exact, since we've had a 1,000-yard season out of Michael Pittman, but he's also been next to Alec Pierce, who clearly the Colts believe in, and had pretty shoddy quarterback play throughout those 3 years, so I wouldn't put it against him. But I do believe that he will be able to contribute a massive amount to this offense, open it up completely, versus what we had last year with DK, and all respect to Calvin Austin, but he's just not to the level of a Michael Pittman to, really open up an offense and get that respect from a defense. And as I mentioned earlier, Darnell and Muth, Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, if you're not familiar, should have been big players in last season's offense, which Darnell, was from time to time. Not as much as he should have been, but he was. But Pat Freiermuth is a tight end that can really change his offense, and I think he could be a top 10 tight end in football if they would just give him the football. Despite Dak Prescott missing time due to injury in 2024, Jake Ferguson was able to catch in 68 receptions for 694 yards and 4 touchdowns, which would be a huge improvement for Muth. And the year before that, with Dak having more time, obviously, he had 71 catches for 761 yards and 5 touchdowns. In the Packer era, Jermichael Finley, I'm sure you all remember if you're Packer fans especially, hauled in 55 receptions in 2009 and 2011, 676 yards in 2009, 5 touchdowns as well, and then 767 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2011. My point with all that is to say I think Mike McCarthy is much brighter than Arthur Smith and knows how to use his tight ends. Will Muth get that many touches with there being so many new weapons on offense? Maybe not, but I think he's going to be much more valuable. He's going to be able to do what he should be doing, what he was doing with Big Ben. But moving on from receivers and tight ends, we got 2 running backs. Last year we had a great running back tandem with Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. But we get, in my opinion, an upgrade in Rico Dowdle, who I'm sure you know if you play fantasy football, was on an absolute tear last year. He looks to continue that this year. Behind an O-line that struggled at times, but was pretty damn consistent for most of the year. Very young O-line who I expect to take a big leap this year and protect not only their quarterback, but their 2 stud running backs as well. So yes, the offense I do think is going to be a big leap, but something that should have always been good in Pittsburgh but wasn't was the defense. A stacked defense from head to toe. The secondary is great. The edge rushers are by far the best part. The interior line is great. Linebackers are a bit iffy, but they're not bad. You put these linebackers on some teams and, they start contending. But the defense has struggled for the past, you could say fucking decade. But there's always these flashes, which is what always makes me mad. There's always been these flashes in the Mike Tomlin defense where it's like, that's it. That's the best defense in football. But I think this year, with the talent they have, and Patrick Graham at the helm, I think they have a chance to really be what they should have been this whole time, the best defense in football. With Patrick Graham in Vegas last year with, not much else other than Max Crosby, they were 14th in total yards allowed per game. They were 25th in scoring defense, but that's much attributed to the fact that they, were defending like a high volume of short fields and they're out there all the time because that offense was absolutely abysmal. But like I said earlier in the video, he made, a good bit of something out of nothing. And I think if you give him, a good bit of something, I'd like to see what he makes of that. Now, the 3 edge rushers obviously are or now 4 with Jack Sawyer, but they are the highlight of this team. Obviously, TJ Watt, one of the best players in football, in my opinion, the best.
It's the GOAT! The GOAT!
But, he struggled the past year or two, I will admit that. It's the secondary now that looks like it might be the best part of this team. Cornerbacks Joey Porter Jr., Asante Samuel Jr., Jamel Dean, Dalen Everett. Safeties of Jaquan Brisker, Deshaun Elliott, Darnell Savage, and Jalen Ramsey. You also got Brandon Echols out there too. This secondary's loaded, man. And for the millionth time, I think with a new scheme, they're going to look a lot better than they did last year. They had flashes last year, but they were just, a lot of the times, just schematically, out of place, man. And it was so frustrating to watch as a fan because you're like, if I'm picking up on this, the NFL head coach or NFL defensive coordinator should be able to do the same thing. But surprisingly, they didn't. But again, I'm not supposed to be ranting. I'm not supposed to show any bias. This defense is stacked, and you're getting a defensive coordinator who is proven that he has a mind. He just needs the talent, and you're giving him all the talent in the world. So I think offensively and defensively, this team is set to go. But now we need to talk about the division. Historically, a very tough division, but I think it's ours for the taking. Look, I've made some shorts and some videos. I did a power ranking, preseason power ranking. I had Baltimore rather low in that. I think Baltimore's going to fall off. I really do. I think Lamar's going to want out of there. Cleveland, I don't have much to say. They're obviously still for the millionth time in that rebuilding stage. But Cincinnati's a team we got to look out for. Cincinnati is not a joke this year. Obviously, it all relies on Burrow staying healthy, which we will talk about them in another episode of the series later. But if Burrow can stay healthy, this is a team that you got to worry out for. They built up the defense a good bit, which was, their Achilles heel last year. But I think all in all, the Pittsburgh Steelers are more stacked than them. I think we're able to win this division. I think we have some tough games on the schedule, but it's a more favorable schedule than it has been in recent years. And once we get to that, playoff range, this is where we got to start talking. Can we compete with the Patriots, the Bills, the Jaguars, the Broncos? Can we compete with these teams? And I think, I'm trying not to be biased, I promise, but I think on their best days, best case scenario, that's how we're doing these videos, best case scenario, I think the Steelers can compete with all of them. And I think they can give a team like Seattle or LA their run for their money. Am I saying that the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl? No. But am I saying they are contenders? Yes, I am. The Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026 and 2027 are Super Bowl contenders. Do you agree with that? Do you not? I'm sure you don't, because most of you are Steelers haters for whatever reason. But however you feel, let me know in the comments. Let me know which team I should make a contender or pretender video on next. And I appreciate you watching. And yeah, thanks, man.